Aloha and welcome to this screencast where I'm going to go over the fourth practice WOD for digits. This WOD is great because we're going to create some forms to add new contacts and to edit existing contacts. And so this is what it's going to look like when we're finished. The neat thing is when you edit a contact, what we'll do is we'll get the doc ID of the contact to be edited out of the URL. And that's how we're going to know which contact we're actually editing. So I suggest you watch this before you try so that you get familiar about what you want to do, but definitely don't watch the screencast while you do it. That way you'll actually learn how to do it. And the other thing I would suggest you do is take a look at this blog posting on the uniforms package, because we'll be using that in this. And it's not very hard to use, not hard to understand. In fact, that's why I'm using it. It's a lot easier than kind of manually managing forms. And before you do this, take your last practice WOD, merge it into master, so that you're starting off with master. And okay, here we go. So let's start the timer. And we're going to create a branch called Contact Forms 1. So we'll go branch, new branch, Contact Forms 1, create branch, and what the heck, we'll publish it, because that's what we're supposed to do. And it's already running, so I can, I'll refresh just to show that. And I'll show you the terminal, so we're right here. So that all looks good. No console. So we're going to first create the add contact page, and what we'll do is we'll make a copy of the add stuff, rename it add contact, and then change the details from stuff to contact. Okay, it's fairly straightforward, but as you do it, hopefully you will you'll get a sense for how this all works, and it won't be just kind of monkey cutting and pasting. So we'll call this add contact, and then we always want to show the imports. And the first thing we'll want to do is change these couple references. Add contact here, export add contact down here, and we want to look here. We want to change add stuff to add contact. Okay. And we're using a schema. So instead of stuff schema, we want to use contact schema. And we want to get rid of this reference to stuffs and stuff schema, because that's the old way. So contact schema is what we have. And then make sure you edit this path, otherwise you'll just, things won't work. Okay, imports API contacts is not being referenced, so we look down here and we say, oh, okay. So this is how ESLint, is going to help you make these changes. Once you've gotten rid of that reference to stuffs, it's going to highlight the fact that there's a problem here, and you're going to say contacts. Now, of course, our fields aren't the same as before, so we need to create new fields, and we'll go back here, and in the render method, change the header to add contact and replace the 3 form fields for stuff documents by 5 form fields for contact. First name, last name, address, image, and then description. So let's just make a couple copies of this. First name, last name, address, image. We don't have a quantity, and we don't have a condition. We will need to submit, and then we need a description, and we want that to be a long text field, so there's some, so that's the equivalent of a text area. So let's import, well, we can just change this to long text field. Long text field, and then get rid of select field. So first name, last name, address, image, description. First name, last name, address, image, our text fields, description, wrong text field. And then, so there's going to be our 6 fields. We have this hidden field because we're using a schema which requires there to be an owner field. But up here, before we actually do so this is just there so that we can pass the schema validation. But once we're in here, we're going to actually create a new owner field, which is the actual owner. But before that, we need to extract the 5 fields: first name, last name, address, image, description, from the data. And then we figure out what the owner is from the meter, and then we do this insert, standard kind of, well, we're going to need owner, first name, last name, address, image, description, description, owner. Okay. So I'm looking over this just to look to see if I see anything that looks like it's a holdover. That looks pretty good. Let's go back. So in the submit method, don't forget we included the owner field. Then we create the routing. So in app.jsx, we're going to change the route for add stuff to add contact. So in app.jsx, add stuff. So the add URL is now going to go to add contact. And then we need to change this from add stuff. Remember, when you edit this, you always got to edit the path that it corresponds to. Otherwise, you'll get unexpected results. So add contact from pages, add contact. That looks good. And then in the nav bar, instead of saying add stuff, I'm going to say add contact. Alrighty. Now we should have a link to add contact in the nav bar. So first let's go back to our thing and see, okay, everything's restarted. That looks good. Now we're here and we've got an add contact, and we click it and we see we've got a someone to do. So I've previously found Scott's stuff. So let's just add Scott just to Robert Son. You might, I don't know, make something up just to see, but I like the real stuff. So let's find this copy image address, put it in here, and then with description, he has a nice little description of himself here, so we can paste that in here, and then. Oh, and look at this, add contacts in black. Let's fix that in a second, but first let's check to see if it works. Okay, we get this add succeeded. We get this warning. That warning hopefully will not appear for you because they fixed the uniforms package since the time I did this screencast, but we'll see. But if you get that warning, you can safely ignore it. Now if we go to list contacts, we'll see that Scott appears. Awesome. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to add contact. I noticed that this add contact's in black. So let's just change the header. What do we got to do? Inverted, right? That's how we make things white. So we go back here, we wait for things to refresh, bam. Looks good. Okay, so now we know that our add contact works. We can get to it. When we add something, it appears over here just like we want it to. So we're good to go with that first part. Okay, so let's go back. So we got that all working, and we got the new contact to appear in list contacts. Now we're going to do the same thing for the edit contact. We'll make a copy of edit stuff. We'll change the appropriate things to be dealing with contacts rather than stuff, and we'll create a routing for edit contact by changing app.jx. So let's just start that right now. So edit stuff, take that, propeller C, propeller V. I'm going to make this an edit contact. .jsx. And then let's look at our imports here. So edit stuff, edit contact. find edit contact. That's the prop type, so we're declaring what we can pass in. Edit contact. So that's good. And then the next thing we'll do, let's change this stuffs and stuff schema to contacts and contact schema, because then things will start to be undefined. It's going to kind of point us to the places we need to change. Okay. So now the first thing we notice is that this should be contacts. And we're going to need to do this set differently. We'll get back to that. And then in the render, we want contact schema rather than stuff schema, because that's what we're going to validate. And then we're going to have, again, we need to change these fields to be, so here's our fields for stuff. Don't want any of those. Let's go to add contact, and we can basically just paste in propeller C, propeller V, and then let's define our long text field. And we'll get rid of select field, propeller delete. So now we've got that, and then in this update, we need to change this to be first name, last name, address, image, description. Now we don't update the owner field because basically you can't. Okay, we're just going to declare that you can't, and we want to get the ID out of the data field because that's what we need next. But we'll change first name, last name, address, oops, image, description. Okay, so we get the doc ID out of the data field. That's a nice thing of this model thing. And then we got the first name, last name, address, image, description. We'll get those all out of our form. And then we'll use the update MongoDB call with the ID that we're going to update, and then the set syntax to change the value of these fields. So even if they weren't changed during the edit, we'll just overwrite them. You know, you could go through a little bit of extra shenanigans to figure out which fields have changed, but you know, this, I don't think we'll have to worry too much about the efficiency. Okay, down here I see contacts dot find one. Oh, and when we're going to subscribe, here's a big one. Subscribe to contacts, not stuffs. Okay, and that was a string, so unfortunately, you got to notice that the Meteor doesn't automatically change that to. We could have exported a variable whose value was that string, and then we would have had syntactic checking for that. That probably would have been a good idea. Just to go back to server contacts.js, so publish contacts, that's the name of the publication. Okay, so we've changed the publication, contacts, find one, document ID, edit contact, edit stuff. You know what we could do? We could just start up here, do a propeller F for stuff, and look to see if there's any remaining references. And there's one. So let's just change that to contact. That's kind of the good way to make sure you don't have any lingering things in there. All right, and we've got the green check mark. Let's go back here and see if there's anything else we should have done. Right, so we've finished with edit stuff. And then to create the edit link, take a look at app imports UI component stuff item.jsx. Okay, so let's go look here. Stuff item.jsx. Okay, so here's how in the old version of, in the Meteor application template React, we have this link field. That's how you express a link, and the link is going to go to the URL that starts with edit, and then we insert the ID of the document that we want to edit, right? So, when we want to edit a specific document, we have to somehow tell the system which document it is, and the way we do it in this system is to embed the doc ID into the URL, and then and then we retrieve the doc ID from the URL in order to understand how to edit it. Okay, so that's stuff item, and we're going to do a similar kind of thing with contact.jsx. So here is that link item. Of course, we're not using a table, so the question is, how are we going to do it? And the way I decided to do it is, let's just add another little, we have this, let's add a little content extra field. So if I go back to here, you can, I'm giving it to you, so feel free to just copy it. And then after the card.content, you can say card content extra, and then we've got this link. And so we have to add that to the React Router DOM. That's where that comes from. So we import it from there. And so now we've got this extra field, which will be the link, and it'll take us to this URL, which will have the doc ID that we need in order to figure out what document we're supposed to edit on the edit contact page. And you can see here that what happens is we get this match property being passed in from React Router, and then the match param, or the match is from React Router, the params dot underscore ID field matches the I'm forgetting where the router, right, it matches this field right here. Okay, so basically when someone enters this particular route, the underscore ID, the React Router will make a property called underscore ID, which will match this component of the path. And that's what we're retrieving right here. Okay, now we know the document ID, so we can subscribe to contacts, we can look up the document here and then pass it in. Okay, and yeah, so let's see, when we get done, the list contacts page should have this little edit link at the bottom. First of all, let's check to see, do we have any errors here? No, that looks good. So let's go to digits, and voila, we've got an edit field at the bottom. Let's see if we can edit Scott. So we click on edit, and we go to edit stuff. Dag nabbit, that's not right. Okay, so we've forgotten to change one of our import statements. So in app.jsx, the edit field should be edit contact. Okay, edit contact, edit contact. All right, so we'll save that out, go back to terminal, we restart. We're going to go back to list contacts. Oh, it was actually okay. Okay, so now we've refreshed, we click on edit, and now we get the right thing. Oh, edit contact is still in black. Doggone it. Okay, what do we do? Everybody knows, can shout it out. Make this inverted. Okay, let me go here. And edit context now in white, the way we would like it. And just to check that this works, I am the best chair. I am, that's a little self-aggrandizing of him. I am the current. Scott's a very humble guy. We're not going to have him talk like he's all that. So we'll say I am the current chair, submit, update succeeded, and then if we go to list contacts, we see I am the current chair. So the update did succeed. Okay, so the edit page works. When your page renders correctly, Control C, let's call that 18 minutes. So we'll Control C to stop Meteor. Well, Control C to stop Meteor in this one. And what else do we want to do? Stop your timer. It was 18 minutes. Commit and push your contact forms one with the message, contact forms finished in 18 minutes. So we'll go here, and then we'll say contact forms finished in 18 minutes. Commit to contact forms, push origin. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that WOD. It's really the uniforms package makes it pretty easy, and it's even easier when you kind of have a template to follow, which I think is fine for right now. There's a lot of additional stuff you can do with forms, but just to get the basics working, this shows you how to get started and do something significant.